right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty Nefaro, seen only here, live from Rockstar Studios, out of Huntington, New York, from Village Connection Radio. Welcome to a special Sunday edition, running a little late, but we got our act together. At the board is none other than owner, Mr. Jim Savali. Jim.
What up, what up? Sorry for the delay.
And to the right is my partner, Mr. Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you?
Good morning, everybody. Back again.
And our honored guest on the couch is none other than Hall of Famer, Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Brutus, thank you for joining us.
What's up?
I want to give a quick shout out to the Monty Nefaro theme song from Aqua Cherry, Straight to the Top. And to remind everybody, this is the first leg of a massive tour of many famous individuals of WWE and pro wrestling. J.J. McGuire will be in house, Hillbilly Jim, Glows Hollywood, Buff Bagwell, Road Warrior Animal, but none more important than Brutus the Barber Beefcake. Brutus, real quick before we turn you over to the Pharaoh, Cutting and Strutting, your book, how's it doing?
It's doing well. We didn't expect it to be on the #1 bestsellers list. It was a shot in the dark, something I've been working on for a long time. A guy named Kenny Casanova had contacted me and then volunteered some help. And I mean, he jumped in with his help and my wife. We got it together from literally from nothing to being out within like 8 months or something. I mean, it went so fast. I'd been working on it with a nice guy named Scott Epstein, and he just like had a tragic car accident right here in Long Island and died 3 or 4 days before Christmas a few years ago. Him and I had been working on it, and all my research died with him.
Wow.
It's like it was a real mystery how you can crash a giant SUV in a neighborhood. Okay, snow and ice, granted, we've all driven in it. How can you crash a big Escalade SUV going 35 miles an hour and die?
Wow.
So something kabuki-ish,
Yeah.
I feel was going on there, but I never really got to find out. But anyway, the book did go on. And no, I'm quite proud of it, actually. It came out exceptionally well. Great stories, great times, good positive book. Kids could read. You could read it to your kid because there's nothing bad in it. It's just
So Cutting and Strutting, you recommend
book,
as like a bedtime story for your kids?
Yeah, I mean, but you probably give them some nightmares, but you get a good laugh out of it. And it's I didn't use my book to try to knock anybody or say bad shit about people and run them down and everything. They can take care of that themselves.
Right.
Those people know who they are. They write books and try to make themselves feel better by putting other people down. And that's not my book's way. It's about having fun, enjoying. Right. An unbelievable 41-year run in the ring. And being associated with the business now. And I love the business. One of those guys. That's real sour grapes and horrified to talk about it now. It was great to me, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Traveling the world, meeting gazillions of people. This was a mind fact. Just tell me to shut up if I start rambling.
No, please, by all means.
My wife always says, "You're rambling. You're rambling. Shut the fuck up. Let somebody else listen." And but when you calculate the CBS called me a few years back, and they were doing research on the first WrestleMania and then subsequent, and it's like, building up to that, and asking about how much we were working, how many times a week were you wrestling, how many times a month, how many times a year. And I went back to some of my old log books and stuff where I was keeping track. And between the television tapings every, 2 to 3 weeks that we were doing, we wrestled 4 times a day, so that's 8 times in 2 days, and then you wrestled once a day all the rest of the week, unless of course you were in a time period where we were doing matinees on Saturdays and Sundays, so you worked twice on those days. So, and if you were an upper card guy or a feature guy, which I was pretty much, then they used to hold you over for the television tapings to wrestle the last match of the night to try to keep the people. So you could be wrestling 10 times in those 2 days. I came up with about 500 times. I wrestled in 1984,
Wow.
95, 85, 86, 87, give or take, 88, 89, and into 90. Still keeping up that pace. That's a lot of matches.
Sure.
Incredible.
Was it worth it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was a lot. It was great.
Who would have thought all those years
Greatest
back
time.
that it would have led to a book?
No.
Your life's been a book. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, let me ask you, why did you get into professional wrestling?
I kind of got dragged into it, you might say. It wasn't my first choice. Or never even came into my mind about being a wrestler. My father's a musician. I almost wish I'd followed his lead. But I was a sports guy. I played baseball and was good at it. With my stature, I think I could have been one hell of a baseball player. 6'3", 6'4", and
260. Yeah.
and the long
would have
ball,
hit. You would have hit the
ball. Boom.
Well, you would have clearly hit the pitch that Chapman threw. Oh, sorry.
So, but
I had to go there.
the young man you guys probably heard of, his name's Hulk Hogan, grew up in the same neighborhood, basically I did. And our families, I have sisters and brothers that we all went to the same high school and came up, and I used to see him at the beach. And he was a musician too. He actually worked under my father. My father was president of the Musicians Union in Florida, basically his whole life. He was a sax player, and a tremendous sax player. And we, bounced off each other, and then I wound up working out at the same gym, and started working out with him and some of his, his buddies. He's about 3-4 years older than I am, so he's, was a little ahead of me.
Here's a music question I have to. Hogan was a bass player, right?
Bass player.
Rank him. How good was he? I'm just curious. Was he a good player? I want to know. I do. I want to know.
Hogan.
Yeah, I want to know if he could play the bass well.
Can I rank him for you? Shitty.
Was he?
Oh, I heard him step
Clear it
on
up.
stage with
I mean, was he Gene Simmons?
With
He
a
certainly
choir-
wasn't Geddy Lee.
with
Go on.
quite a few bands throughout the years, and step
Okay.
on stage, and hadn't picked up a guitar in a long time, and
Okay.
was right there. I mean, unless he
All
turned
right.
his amp off.
He
or
was
something.
serviceable. That's what I wanted to know. Unless he had his amp off.
Looked like he was doing it.
They look good. They look good.
Oh,
That's all that matters,
God.
right? And then you're not going to tell like a 6'8" guy that he's playing the bass shitty.
You're not.
Not a good
I
idea, really.
would.
I want to jump into Hogan real quick.
Yeah.
Where did the heat come between you guys? Or were you upset over Linda Hogan's comments about you and Hulk on that radio show?
Yeah, I went to, where was it? CBS, NBC, and studios in Chicago. They flew me in, especially just to make a comment about that and talk about it. So, yeah, I was pretty upset.
I mean, I imagine you had a relationship with Linda, right? Because you guys used to hang out a little bit with each other, and for her to do that.
I didn't really hang out with her, but because we were, my family, his family were together for so many years, and I was there when his kids were born, when his daughter was born. I'm looking through the hospital, to the window of the thing with him, and they bring her Brooke out and set her in the bassinet. Her head's at one end, her feet at the other end. She was 11-pound something baby.
Wow. Wow.
And we're looking, and he goes, Brutus, she's going to be a freak. I said, bro, don't worry about it. She's healthy. It's all good, And,
Just a big baby.
Turned out to be a big, beautiful,
There you go.
talented kid. Wow.
Is it all right if I throw in a wrestling question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are
Sorry.
you sure?
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
He's the wrestling guy.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a wrestling nerd. How'd you get signed by the WWE? How's that all started? Was it basically Hogan, or where's that all come from?
Well, it's a long story. Him and I started in '76, late '76, down in Florida, and worked several territories. All my I never worked or went to a school. He went to a camp in Tampa. And it was run by Eddie Graham and the business there. And they had a Japanese guy who was a bronze, silver medalist or something. His name was Hiro Matsuda. And he trained their guys and made the decision yes or no on whether they're going to he came in, the long hair and the tan and the thing, and that wasn't Eddie Graham's. He was a wrestler with a little more amateur style and Greco-Roman. If anybody has a remote idea what that is, first day in, they took him in. We used to work out in a little building that, with the sun down there in the daytime, it was probably 110 at least. With one little fan about this big, and they exercised him for like 2-3 hours. And when his tongue was hanging out to here, they sent him in the ring with Hiro Matsuda, and then first thing the guy did was take him down and break his arm, break his leg.
Wow. Now, are you there watching this?
No, I wasn't there.
All right.
And it was kind of before we really became better friends, and then
accidental or on purpose?
No, on purpose. Took them right down.
On purpose.
That was their way of saying we don't want you.
Wow.
So so when you guys hook up and you start to become a professional wrestler, aren't you like, you must have heard this story? You must have been like, I'm getting my leg broken. This is insane.
I knew the story. We went off to Cocoa Beach, Florida, and ran a bar with a guy over there, which was a blast. Steppenwolf used to come in and play.
Really?
Oh, man. Wow.
It was called the Anchor Club, right on Cocoa Beach.
God damn the pusher.
I worked the door. He worked inside. We spent like 14 months, 6 days a week in the gym, twice a day, to get big and ready. Because basically the message was when he went to the wrestling at 6'6", 255, 260. That wasn't going to work. We realized that if our best chance is going to be to just be as monstrous as we possibly could,
right,
and be noticed, and so people would take notice. So we spent that time wisely. Didn't have a drink of alcohol, and man, did we work out and eat like pigs, just as we ate everything we could find. By the end of the time it was over, he was about 335 pounds with a legitimate 23-inch arm. And I went from about I graduated high school about 165, 170, thin, 6 foot, 6'1". Actually, all that working out made me, grow.
You're a huge guy then. You're a huge guy now.
went to
But how much
260.
How much gas were you guys taking?
All we could get.
I get it.
But it wasn't
I love honesty.
It wasn't illegal. I had a regular doctor I saw all the time. There's a lot of guys dead now. Of course, they abused steroids for years and years, but they didn't monitor. They weren't monitored. They didn't use their heads. They didn't take safety precautions and go on and cycle on and off. I don't know. It wasn't illegal,
right.
So it was the only way a 170-pound guy was going to be able to get that size I needed to participate with 400 and 500-pound guys.
What's funny when we have the other wrestlers in, right? It seems that they're okay with talking about all the cocaine they might have done or everything else, but when you bring up steroids, it's like, no.
Right.
I never touched that.
Some do react that way.
It's like, it's almost like taboo. So, and again, you're trying to get into a profession where you have to be huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Steroids doesn't make you hit a curveball.
That's right.
Steroids don't gonna make you run a 9 flat 100, but it might, with enough hard work and using your head, it makes things possible that wouldn't normally be possible, maybe.
That's right.
And unfortunately, a lot of my friends aren't here today because, and the cocaine and the opioids is what really killed everybody.
Right.
Yeah. I got 25, 30 guys that I knew well. They're all dead exactly for that reason. Wow. Most of them, steroids didn't really have anything to do with it. Wow. Steroids on the really, if you know anything about steroids and growth hormone and all that stuff, the medical community gets great benefits from it when it's used properly. Great benefits. People benefit all over the country. Every day in hospitals are giving kids to old people steroids and different derivatives of them. They say it saves lives. It's only when, it's like put a crazy man in a car, and what can happen? He can run down 25 people on the sidewalk.
Look, you got a running back that blows out his knee, and through use of human growth hormones, he's back on the field less than a year later. Where it's career ending, it's no longer career ending. So,
well, they're making breakthroughs, and they improve prove the human body is not a bad thing.
And again, as wrestling fans, look, I like my wrestlers big. I don't want to feel like I could kick the shit out of a wrestler in a ring, right? I want to feel like that guy's going to kick the shit out of me.
Usually helps as a viewer. Yeah, usually. So what gets you to Vince, if we can get back to that?
What's that?
What brings you to Vince McMahon the first
Well,
time?
working multiple territories was the time of territories back then. Hulk kind of split. I went here, there. I went to Pensacola, Florida. I went to Tennessee. I went to Louisiana. I went to Oregon for a year. I was talking about that. Mm-hmm. Started going to Japan in 1980. Hulk was nice enough to hook me up with that. New Japan Pro Wrestling. Learned a lot over there. And bounced around more and more territories. Charlotte, Minnesota for Vern Gagne's territory. And then I was shooting on my way back home to Florida, and it's like middle '83, right when Hulk had took the belt from Sheik, and then things were exploding, in the WWE, and stopped in to visit with the guys because I made a run through in '78 through New York for a short time and worked a little bit for some under matches and stuff, just recouping from a shoulder injury I had. So everybody knew me. I was around there, and but they sent me out. The Hulk said, "We don't want to keep Brutus here." And back then it was Dizzy Ed. We don't want to keep Dizzy Ed here and let him job him out and stuff. Well, I wanted to get the experience, and which I did. And so when I came back through, Hulk was supposed to do a program with Big John Studd.
Yeah.
7 foot tall, 400, that was where wrestlers were big, and Andre and Bundy and just endless guys that were huge. And so now they had a problem. Studd was supposed to go to Austria and wrestle a guy named Otto Vance. He was a big guy for Vern Gagne.
Former AWA champion.
Yep.
Big guy, 400.
Built like a
25
barrel.
pounds and only about 6 foot tall.
Wide.
Just a monster.
Yeah.
He was semi-retired. He's actually the mayor of Graz, and the town Arnold Schwarzenegger's from.
Yeah.
And so he runs a tournament there every summer. A lot of the wrestlers would come over, stay for a month, and in the finale of the tournament, Vince would always send one of his biggest guys for Otto to wrestle, and beat. So he'd be, could be crying, he's the mayor, he's the champ, and blah, blah, blah. So that now they didn't have their big, huge guy to send, and they're like, oh, now what are we going to do? And then Hulk's right, send Dizzy Ed. He's in between territories, send him. So well, I don't know why, but they said, okay, we will, and Otto wasn't real happy about it first because they're always the guys are usually really, really big, that they send over there. The biggest thing is to try to slam Otto, almost like the Giant.
Right.
Because hardly nobody can get him up. And so, bam, they sent me over there. I was in shape, I'm 6'4", 260. I had a 450 to 500 pound bench press. Squat 500, no problem. And went over there, and everybody warned me, oh, Big Otto, he's tough. You wrestle rounds. You don't wrestle. They have, timeout, and you go to the corner, and it's not like, the real wrestling is here. And, and Otto was big and was really stiff, so, they wound me up, and I went out there and climbed up one side of the guy and down the other. And it came time for the slam, and picked him right up.
Wow.
And slammed him. The whole building went quiet. All the mass superstars and the Bobby Duncombe's and all the big guys. Nobody ever picked him up and slammed him. And the smallest guy he ever wrestled picked him up and slammed him. Nobody could believe it. He couldn't believe it. His back kind of went out a little bit, and he was having trouble moving around after that. So next thing you know, he called for the finish. His finish, he's supposed to be this. It's called a steamroller, where he does like a somersault over you. Couldn't even do that.
Wow.
So he hooked a small package me. He called for a small package. And the referee, 1, 2, 3, and I jumped up, and I'm running around like a wild man, and the crowd's going crazy. He rolled out of the ring. They put him on a gurney, put him in an ambulance and took him to the hospital to check him out because he was complaining about his back. Turns out he was okay, and they brought him back. But there wasn't even TV then. This is 1983. There wasn't even TV. They brought him back, and the newspapers, and it was all newspapers said it was the best match they'd ever seen him have. And I was touted as the smallest and least likely to be able to have a match with this guy. So did it blow their minds. And he called Vince up. He said, "You would not do wrong to put this young man to work." So as soon as when I got back home, called me in, sat down, figured out the name, Brutus Beefcake. Linda McMahon had the beefcake in her mind. They were thinking something like, you remember Baron Mike Cicluna, and I think they were thinking something with a top hat and a thing, or a tuxedo jacket or something. And
because they had you like as a Chippendales type of guy.
well,
right?
that was me. That was and then Hulk being funny because he liked to be funny. Says, "Well, what name? What's the first name going to give him?" So he said, "What about Popeye Brutus? Like Popeye and Brutus?" And they were like, "Okay." And I'm sitting there, and this is going to be my big break. This is me in Madison Square Gardens. That's the worldwide place. Everybody around the world wants to come to.
You're not calling me Popeye.
To work. I'm thinking, oh, this is the worst day of my life. My big break.
Right.
I mean, you can't hardly. You got to at least giggle or smile when you say the name Brutus Beefcake.
Right.
You don't forget it.
No.
That's one thing. But I thought it was going to be horrific, and it turned out completely opposite. People were so outrageous. Everybody remembered it.
Sure.
Got people's attention.
Yeah.
And they had you like every match, like going around the ring, just doing your strutting, right? And
When
then you
we
would
first
go back to the locker room.
And if they said Ric Flair strut this, Buddy Rogers did a little strut, but I really had a strut that was, it wasn't just one step like that. Okay, I strutted. No, I strutted and strutted and strutted, and then we added the cut to it, so it was the strutting and the cut, man. And it all worked. The clothes, the Chippendale deal. Hulk had a guy that made clothes for his band, so he turned me on to the guy. I went and saw him. The guy was very, very smart. He made clothes for a lot of people. I think Hendrix for Cher, all different stuff. He saw me, and he went right over to the rack and got some spandex stuff out, and he designed these gloves and stuff with metal and.
Well, speaking of that, so you had that sleeve, right? That's before they started with those sleeves.
Nobody
you
had
should have
anything like
trademarked that. You would have been rich now, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, people use it for gardening now and everything else. You've been a rich man. Listen, I want to jump ahead. We were talking about your Hall of Fame induction, but one of our favorite teams is the Dream Team. We've had Greg Valentine in studio. Great opportunity, you being a second-round Hall of Famer. Dream Team, to me, is one of the great teams. Can you just share your thoughts on Greg Valentine and Johnny Valiant?
Well, Greg, Greg and I were friends for a long time, even way before I came here. I used to watch his father in Florida, where I grew up. I used to go to the wrestling all the time when I was a kid. Most of the wrestlers, his father scared the shit out of me. Scared me to death. He just... look in his eye, you could tell this guy was mean, just mean. And you watched his work, and it was, he just pummeled everybody, and he was just a tough guy. So I always had a lot of respect for Greg. And then they put me and Greg together, and I think a lot of times they did stuff up there just like throwing shit against the wall and see what sticks. And so they put me and Greg together. Greg the Rogue, the classic second generation wrestler, Brutus Beefcake, the Chippendale guy thing, completely thinking, this is going to be blah, blah, and we'll all get to sit back and laugh. Well, it didn't. Our styles are so different that the opposite attracted. And me being out there and then having Greg was being the tough, veteran, and me the new thing, and it caught on. It caught on like crazy. Next thing you know, they're putting the world title belts on us. And this is tag team matches. We're really a part of the show. It's a big deal, and we're running around the country selling out arenas
For months.
Held
the belt for months.
years with a tag team.
Yeah. Right.
With a tag team match on top, selling out arenas, and not little ones either. 20, 30,000 seat arenas, sell them out, do a return match, and bring it back and sell it out again. I mean, we did things with those belts that hardly had been done since, really. And I loved working with Greg, because he was, it's a good hand, great knowledge of the business. I, learned a lot from him, and it gave me a good guideline because I'm not gonna be pummeled and beat up out there, and Greg's definitely not going to be pummeled and beat up out there. So we just pummeled and beat up everybody, and we had a lot of guys didn't really like us. So the Killer Bees, the Rougeos, these guys, that guys. I mean, but it really helped me as my turn to babyface because we really gained great respect as bad guys. We became the bad guys that people actually liked.
Yeah.
It was that. Began that generation where people started liking the bad guys. We have more fights in the stands on our shows from the people cheering for us and the people booing us. And I mean, they either liked us or they hated us bad. And we'd have to stop the matches all the time because people would be out there fighting, and security had to break them up. And we'd be outside the ring, and then as soon as the security got things calmed down, we'd get back up in the ring and start wrestling again.
Well, speaking of bad guys, so WrestleMania 2, right? I was there at the Nassau Coliseum in New York. It was with Piper, Mr. T. But they had that closed circuit round. And if I remember properly, they closed out New York and Chicago, where you closed out against the British Bulldogs, the Dream Team against British Bulldogs. Thoughts on Dynamite Kid? Was he the bully that the dirt sheets talked about? Was he as bad as they say he was?
Bad how?
Being rough with the gags,
I mean, whether it's true or false,
Well,
he had a rep of being very harsh to certain people. Is there
Quite
any
the
validity
Absolutely
to it?
he was.
Okay.
I first met Dynamite in Japan, and he had that more Japanese style way of working, and Davey Boy, had that more like British style of working, and they put those guys with us. We had to retrain them.
Interesting.
How to have a match American style with some psychology into it. It's telling a story out there that the people can understand and involving, bringing the people into the match, letting them feel like they are part of it. That's one of the biggest things that's missing from this whole thing now. They're not, the people just aren't connecting. They're out there cheering and they like to watch high-flying double, triple indies and everything, and a lot of the timing of it, nothing means anything.
Could I say that you're not a fan of today's wrestling?
Well, I love the guys, and God bless them all.
Right.
They work.
Does it feel like a spot fest to Brutus the Barber?
Yeah, it's just completely different. There's not a lot of wrestling in the wrestling show.
And no storylines.
But just no story. We went on the oldest story of all. Good versus evil. Good guys. Now it's everybody's in a gray area. You're a good guy today, a bad guy tomorrow. Good guy next week, you're bad. People can't distinguish that.
Were you given freedom to do promos on your own back in the day, or were they written for you? Because nowadays you can see them reading off the cue card.
There was nothing written out. There was no rehearsals for any matches. There was no practice.
You had freedom.
There was not even really a lot of talking going on. We went out, we knew what to do. It's like a baseball player. He knows how to play baseball. You send him out in the field. He doesn't have to go rehearse 50,000 things. He practices. Yeah, he goes batting and does his fielding. As we do our weightlifting and stretching and things we need to do to be prepared. The same thing. I could go out and have matches, tremendous matches, never saying a word to the other guy. For people say, oh, it's fake and it's all planned and it's all. I said, might be now. Because they got script writers and they tell them every move to have in a match and everything to say. They had a room and guys, we stayed all day for sometimes 2 days, and because they approached markets separately, they didn't just do a general and sent it out everywhere. We were going into Buffalo, New York. We did a promo for Buffalo, New York. If we're going into San Diego, we did one for San Diego. We stayed in there for hours, and all the guys were professionals, and they had their their gimmick, their personas. They knew who they were and what they were and how to bring it out. And,
Right.
and our announcers, me, Gene, and the people we had, really knew how to.
They could enhance it. Yeah.
Exactly. Take advantage of it.
Yep.
They wouldn't just have some guy standing there. Okay, I have Joe Blow here, and which you've seen. I know you've seen.
Oh yeah.
If you watch some of the things, the guy trying to he's hot shit. Oh yeah, I'm Joe Blow, and here's the wrestler. And
well, part of the problem too, you see they're trying to read the script in their mind, what they were trying to say, and it's like it causes a lot of problems.
Yep.
It's just like, do your
It
thing.
feels fake,
you
plastic.
can tell
It
when
doesn't
guys
feel
aren't saying
genuine.
what they say, would be saying. You hear a guy talking and going like, "There's words coming out of his mouth, but that ain't him saying it."
Yeah.
Right.
And so it made a big difference.
Brutus, I gotta ask you, as fans, because we were disappointed at the end of Dream Team. Were you disappointed at all that the team was reduced to mid card kind of before the split and everything? Because this was a bummer for us. Any thoughts on when that was happening?
Big time. George Scott was one of the bookers that were booking that, and he was really one of Greg's real good friends. And for some reason, I guess I don't know. Maybe it was our own fault. We weren't complying with maybe.
What's complying?
All their wishes.
Well, which were what?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But we were who we were, and
right.
Like I said, we beat the shit out of people out there. We had good matches. You couldn't see through our matches. All our moves, not all the spectacular stuff, but everything so solid.
Yeah.
In the ring that it was just very convincing.
The only thing I'll say about you guys is I wish you guys would have coordinated your gear a little better. Because you stayed in the Brutus Beefcake character and Valentine stayed in the Valentine character. I was always like, could they just get some matching outfits?
But if they came out looking like the Killer Bees, I would have gotten nauseous.
That's the whole thing. We didn't we didn't want to look like the Bopsy twins.
No, absolutely not.
Because we were too.
You were very different.
We were.
I think that's what made you guys very original in
King
that
Kong
way.
and Godzilla.
Right. How much did Valentine's physicality rub off on you for the rest of your career?
Were
you pounding people left and right after that?
Well, not so much. I mean, I never hurt anybody in the ring, but there was always, you have
always
to,
a good thing.
You have to remember, you got to work with the same guys a lot of times every night of the week, and all year round and stuff. If you get rid of your opponent, you might really be doing yourself a real big disservice. You're hurting your opponent because next thing you know, you'll be wind up at the bottom of the card because all the plans that were laid for you
are over,
get pulled off the board, and now how are you going to get back up there? So very important.
David Sammartino was in studio about 2 weeks ago. You worked WrestleMania 1 with him. Why didn't David work out, in your opinion, as a wrestler?
He didn't really want to be a wrestler. I don't think his father. Everybody expected him to be a wrestler because his father. And
you think he felt the pressure?
Oh yeah, and he just wasn't his stature. I mean, he had good, decent build on him and everything, and he was athletic and everything, but mentally he wasn't. I don't think he wasn't strong enough to do what we had to do back then. And
you don't have to answer this question, but I always ask: what was your WrestleMania 1 payoff?
Ooh,
I don't even remember, but it wasn't big.
It wasn't.
Wasn't big?
Damn.
Here we go again.
That's disappointing. Could you buy a car with it?
Hot Wheels.
Oh my God! Holy Matchbox Batman. Oy.
All right, bouncing to WrestleMania 3.
No, they were good to me and everything. I honestly, I don't.
Did you get a motorcycle at least? Motorcycle?
Hot Wheels.
Not really.
I'm going to bounce you WrestleMania 3. You make the face turn. You cut Adrian Adonis's hair. We've had a lot of guys in here. Was Adonis a dick?
Yeah, I met him when I first went through the territory, Gagne's territory, and met him and Jesse Ventura and all that stuff. And I knew him, and we also worked in Japan together, so he was just obnoxious. He was, his hygiene was horrible. He dressed like a pig. He looked like a pig. He acted like a pig. I mean,
don't hold back, Bruce.
He didn't sound
You're
like
blocking.
a pig.
You're blocking. Oh my God!
But there was actually sometimes he was a good guy and fun and a thing, but he also liked to screw with people, like you said, dynamite kid and everything. he messed with Danny Spivey once. I know you've heard about that.
Yep.
He was teamed up with Dick Murdoch for a while.
Yeah.
Dick Murdoch, Southern guy, was a friend of Johnny Valentine's, probably that school, super old school. Thought us long hairs, didn't belong in the business. He was in Adrian's ear a lot, and Adrian and I were supposed to work after WrestleMania. He completely poisoned Adrian, and so Adrian quit after WrestleMania 3. Just walked out.
So that's the reason why Adonis left. I thought he
Yes.
got fired. Oh,
No.
wow. I did not know that.
He wasn't going to work with me. He was supposed to work with me, but there's no way he was going to work with me. Murdoch had totally screwed his head up, and
What's with long hairs in wrestling? What's that?
yeah, I don't know.
What is that? That's nonsense.
Sticking to
Go on.
WrestleMania 3, Hogan Andre, that big man event. Got an Andre story for us?
You haven't read my book then, right?
I have, but
You-
the
oh,
fans
we want you-
that
we want you
haven't,
to
I-
share
Well,
with the
I'm
audience.
trying to think of
Got a good fart?
okay.
Fart story, maybe?
Well, yeah, this is a pretty good,
He's
pretty good
legendary.
Andre story. You remember a guy named Playboy Buddy Rose?
Oh,
Absolutely.
love him.
Yes.
Looked a lot like Adrian Adonis. Chubby. I mean, Adrian had a
the end,
weird-looking
yeah.
body, but the guy athletically, he did
Great.
things in the ring you'd
Great.
never expect.
Great.
Buddy was that same kind of same guy.
Great.
He threw a good punch. He knew how to manipulate the promoter up there, Dono, and do his thing and
In the
fly
Pacific
around.
Northwest, right? Dono in the Pacific
and-
Buddy Rose could sell a bump, man. Whoa.
big time. And Buddy was a jokester too. And Andre would come in usually once a year, sometimes twice a year for a big show. We'd have a big battle royal. I think we were in Olympia in Washington, and everybody's there. We're in the dressing room. Andre, loved playing cards. He had cribbage board and he set up, and he's in there playing. And Buddy comes walking in. He's kind of sneaking around, and next thing you know, he comes out of the bathroom part of the locker room with a turd about like big as a big size hot dog and about 12 inches long. I mean, I don't know.
A 7-Eleven Big Bite. Go on.
It didn't even look real. It was so freaking big.
Oh my God.
Oh, I'm going to black out. Oh, my God.
He's coming, and guys are looking at him, and they're seeing, and they're starting to back up and peel off, and he comes walking over to the table where Andre's playing, sipping a nice glass of wine and playing cribbage, enjoying his game, and
Oh, boy.
brings that turd over and puts it in front of Andre, and Andre says, "Oh, boss, better get that out of my fucking face. You're going to wind up eating it." And Buddy, he was dancing around, and then he was celebrating with the turd and everything, and everybody's running for the sorry,
Steam coming off that turd?
running for their lives.
Oh shit.
And things calmed down. Came time. We went in the ring. We got in the battle royal.
I love Buddy
Everybody's
Rose
in
even
the
more.
ring. Andre, as usual, they announce him last. He comes walking and steps over the top rope. And, everybody starts doing their thing. And next thing you know, Andre pins Buddy into the corner. And then, turns around and gives him his famous move. Was
Sure.
Andre's ass had to be that wide and that thick. I mean, just his ass weighed 200 pounds.
Giant ass.
And he gave him the big ass, and Buddy was kind of limp, and then he brought him out to the center of the ring, and he was face down, and he just kind of fell on top of him, and Andre thumb, that may not even be big enough, was his hands, fingers were just, took that thumb and shoved it right up Buddy's ass.
Holy shit.
Buddy Rose was squealing like a little girl, like a little pig. And
That's like a
and
colonoscopy
all
in the
the
ring.
boys,
pretty much.
and all the boys are all grabbing each other, trying to put their hands across their face. So the people
Try
in the
not to
ring couldn't
laugh.
see us. Outside the ring couldn't see us all laughing. But he
Any chance
squealed.
that was this match is on videotape anywhere? I'd love to see this.
Yeah, I would too.
Hit the high note.
And,
Needless to say, Buddy Rose probably never played a shit joke on anybody else again.
No, not on Andre anyway.
Hey, can we go back to your red-hot feud at the time with the Intercontinental Champ Honky Tonk Man? What I found interesting was you were injured before your match at the first SummerSlam, allowing this push for Warrior, obviously, so we really want to know, was the injury, was it a work, or were you supposed to become Intercontinental Champ, but Warrior was so red-hot that they decided to put the belt on him? What was the story behind that?
Good question.
I'm curious, yeah.
Warrior.
You seem beeline to get Honky's belt. What happened?
Warrior red hot. I would have to. I disagree with that.
Okay.
No. Well, Warrior was
Certainly rising.
definitely a champion in his own mind, and
Okay.
I was going to get the belt. There's no question about it.
Okay.
We've been working for a year for
Right.
this.
Yeah. So what happened?
Warrior went to Vince
Oh, yeah.
and, said he's going to quit, whatever, do a tantrum. And so they had to change the whole card. Put me with Ron Bass, had him
Wow.
gig me with the cowbell and blah, blah, blah. And then
How does
Honky, and it was a big screw job, not only on me, but on Honky too, because me and Honky's been working this program, and so we're going to continue this for months. It's going to mean a lot of money. It's main event money for both of us. So that cost me a lot of money, and it just
Did you have any words with Vince about it? Did you have any words with Warrior about
wasn't
it?
much to say. It wouldn't be wise.
How about Warrior? Did you go to him and be like, "What the frig, bro?
That wouldn't have mattered.
Waste of time."
At that time.
Understand?
Vince was into his head, and he was just
That was
he
that.
was out there. When
Yeah.
he first came in, he was trying. He thought he was one of the boys, and then by that time, he was now the Warrior. He changed his name on his license to the Warrior, and
Why, you haven't changed your license to Brutus Beefcake?
You're not beef. Your birth certificate doesn't say beefcake. I'm very confused. I'm not sure.
Well, I didn't know that. That's a great story. Holy cow. SummerSlam 89, you worked with Zeus and Savage. I want to bounce. What was your relationship with Savage? And was it true, all these stories about Savage locking Elizabeth away?
absolutely,
Really now?
yeah, he was so protective of her. He was
TV dinners and all?
everything.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
TV
Wow.
dinners in the freezer, and pulling the thing, locking her in. Yeah, Randy was all over the place. I don't know what the term would be for it. Bipolar. Mm-hmm. 1 minute, great. The next minute, gone.
Gee, I wonder what that's
I
like.
liked Randy. I worked with him a lot. We had tremendous matches, but it wasn't easy. You really had to sometimes overlook a lot.
Degree of difficulty working with Randy for you in the ring. Easy? Hard?
I wouldn't say hard. It was easy. We always had good matches. I had to actually fill in for Hulk. One time he actually got hurt or something and was out for like a week, and was slated to wrestle Randy all over. In Indianapolis and Hoosier Dome, 35,000 people. I had to step in and wrestle for Hulk, and they didn't have a single person demand their money back. And the rating, the people said it was just tremendous match we had together. So we but Randy was like, from one day to the next, you never where are you going to be with him. I almost got in a fight with him probably 3 or 4 or 5 times. If he wanted to fight, we would have fought, but I think he figured out it wasn't going to work out for him.
Right.
And so he stayed away from it. But
Got to ask you about this one, because I just watched this last night. You were the first wrestler to pin Mr. Perfect. This was huge, bro. Mm-hmm. I remember this was a big deal. I wanted to get your thoughts on the great late Kurt Hennig.
Kurt was a great friend. Kurt, when I was in Oregon in my early years, Kurt came to Oregon with his dad, Larry the Axe Hennig, to break in, and I actually had one of Kurt's first matches with him in one of the towns there, Eugene, Oregon or something, and Kurt, we're good friends. He's a Minnesota boy. There was a whole lot of guys that were on our crew then that were from that Minnesota area. Rick Root was, the Road Warriors was, but quite a few guys. But Kurt really had a knack. Just was born for this.
Yeah.
His his demeanor, his speech, his athletic ability was
Amazing.
just off the chain.
Amazing.
And so when he and I got together, it was magic. We didn't have to, after we had like 1 or 2 matches and got to see how each other did our moves and everything, we didn't have to talk. We'd go out and do 20 minutes, no problem. People would be standing on the chairs screaming the whole time. And it was fun. That was actually fun. And because, we work in the crowd, man, the thing. And you could hear the crowd, I'm making the comeback and they're going crazy. And then something happens, boom, he turns it around and then it's boom, the crowd's yelling, thing. And then something, Fooley does that triple Lindy and flies over the top rope and to the floor. And then boom, there comes the crowd again. And it was just
back when a high spot meant something.
We could manipulate the crowd so easily, and it's something you ever see anymore.
Well, earlier you were talking about all the friends you lost. Did you know Kurt had the issues he was having?
No, he's messing with OxyContin. I think that was his undoing, which it's done. It's been the undoing of many people. I mean, Kurt's favorite thing was gargling Jack Daniels. Come to the bar, get a gargle, get the shot. Go. I mean, for real.
Okay.
And he'd get people to do it. They'd be throwing up all over the place. Funny. And then the garbage can and stuff. And Kurt was a bit of a trickster too, and he loved watching people who thought they were bad puke and shit from that. And he was caught up in like a lot of us, a lot of the guys were, when you're on the road day after day after day, you're away from your families, and you're looking for something else to do, and and then the drugs and alcohol got the better of them, and.
How about the issue with Lanny cutting the hair? Was there some heat going on there?
Well, I mean, Lanny and I since have become better friends. I mean.
Okay.
Another Pat Patterson story. Like, he was the one that actually gave me the barber name.
Yeah.
And it was more or less a joke on me. And turned a frown into a smile. And they didn't tell Lanny before we went out on the WrestleMania match.
By the way.
He's going to get his haircut.
By the way.
Because Kurt and I are just, we're getting ready to work a big program. So I can't cut his hair then. Yeah. If by the time we work the big program and we were going to have to do with the belts, it was going to be an ongoing thing for a while. And if there was a haircut then happening, that's when it would happen. It was too soon for it. So, you do the next best thing, cut the manager's hair. So they didn't tell him. So Kurt and I have our mask thing, boom. Next thing you know, Laney bails out of the ring, starts heading back to the locker room. I'm like, I didn't know that they didn't tell him. I just know what I'm supposed to do. What I want to do, because to make the people happy, get the match over. I have to run down the hallway and grab him, and now he's really resisting. But fortunately, I'm a little stronger than Laney, I forced my will on him.
Oh my God!
And Bulldog dragged him back to the ring and trying to get him. Get him back up to the ring, and he was trying to run out the other side, and then finally corralled them. And
So this is the first time you ever cut his hair. Like usually when you lead up these WrestleMania moments, you practice it on the crowd and house shows for a while, see what kind of reaction.
How do you practice cutting someone's hair off?
No,
don't they have to grow it back?
There didn't need to be any practice. I might have given him a clip, a little clip in a house show or something, just a little snip or something, a snippet in a house show or something, but. This is going to be more of a haircut. I was going to take care of him when I'm going to just cut the front out of his hair, like I did a lot of people. So you got to shave your head.
We got about 5 minutes or so. I want to hit one more question. I want to bring in the promoter at ESS, tell you where you're going next. The barbershop with Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, one of the biggest moments in wrestling history. Thoughts on that? The whole vignette?
Well, the Rockers were a good little team. Greg and I had to bring those guys up to speed too. We worked with them. They were young kids. I thought Marty was a really good hand, and I liked Marty, and I kind of hated to see the way it went, where Marty really got just left by the wayside. Sean, was in the right place.
Did you think Sean was a better wrestler and performer, or what were your thoughts?
I thought Marty was.
Interesting.
But Sean was a shrewder and smarter business guy.
I caught the wink. I got it.
And he took advantage.
When you mean shrewder, did he like go in the back with Pat Patterson to like kind of even things out?
I don't know.
Sean.
But he might have. I don't know what he might have had a plan already. That this was part of enacting the plan there to split them apart and everything. Because Marty really fell by the wayside and was hardly ever really heard from again. And then that was the beginning of Sean's rise and rise to be the world champion and the Heartbreak Kid and super duper career. I hated to see it go that way. I mean, Marty deserved. I thought Marty deserved better.
Yeah.
I thought he still could have been, a middle to upper card guy and a teacher and help guys and stuff.
Now, do you think Marty's problems that he's having now are because maybe he's looking at his career and feels like, he was snaked?
He's got to be depressed somewhat from it.
I would have to say I would be depressed.
Rockers belong in the Hall of Fame?
The Rockers in the Hall of Fame?
Not before the Dream Team.
Well,
well, we know that, obviously.
It's a hard call.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Borderline?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brutus, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great stories. At the chair is Eric from ESS Promotion. Eric, where are you going to be with Brutus for the
So the final leg of our tour today, or this weekend, is the Wrestling Universe in Queens, New York, 429 Francis Lewis Boulevard, and Brutus will be there along with Sergeant Slaughter, Demolition, and Bob Backlund. So we're going to have some fun up there at the Wrestling Universe. Always a good time at the Wrestling Universe. And then coming up, we got a big weekend coming up. About 2 or 3 weeks. Buff Bagwell will be in studio. The big event, you got the J.J. Maguire's there. Yep. I got the Buff Bagwell, the Patriot, Del Wilkes, Doom, Ron Simmons, Butch Reed, Too Cold Scorpio, Disco Inferno. So I got a loaded weekend. A lot of interesting stuff's going to happen. Stars and Stripes reunion.
Incredible.
Buff Bagwell and Scorpio. They're supposed heat, and they're going to be together for the first time.
To keep them apart.
And they were working on that. I got the Mr. E. My head of security might have to come down for that one.
Mr. E.
He's a legit. He's a legit professional bodyguard from New York that sometimes does the wrestling, but deals with the music people, and he's no joke. The guy is legit. A legit bodyguard.
Nice.
I mean, legit. I knew
this thing was coming for you.
No phony baloney. I mean, the guy's the real deal. And I always brought him around when I had Sheik in town, when I had like high level things that I needed, tight security with. He was there to keep the riffraff away. So it was,
he brings his shears, so you don't have to worry about anything. Now.
Brutus, one last question before we cut it. I was just thinking about this. You came to the WWE during a very large transition time. I'm assuming you were a wrestling fan, being in the business. When you come to the WWE at that point, and Backlund's there, and San Martino, are you kind of marking out? Are you like, holy cow, I'm working with icons in the business, or was it like just business as usual?
No, it was a remarkable thing. I was at the actual first Shea Stadium show, first and only Shea Stadium show. I was there, and so in the background. So I worked a lot with Bruno. Larry Zbyszko, very good friend of mine, lives down in Florida. See him all the time. We're good friends. And Bobby Backlund, same thing. I used to watch him, in the gym in Florida. He loved working out down in Florida. Harry Smith's gym, where all the wrestlers worked out and stuff. So I definitely marked out a little bit, and stuff. But then it was really cool to be able to, to work with him and be, and like Bruno, you could hardly know what you're going to expect from him, because Bruno was always didn't like the bodybuilder types, was the old school and stuff. But when I worked with Bruno, it was a night off. He was super, and I made him look great. He made me look great.
He did a lot of right? The San Martino and the Sun against you in Valiant,
I wrestled
right?
him in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, his hometown.
Yeah.
And beat him right in the middle of the ring. And he was a total gentleman and great. I have a great respect for him. Always have. And it was nice to see it being reciprocal. So I've seen a lot of instances where things like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And that's Bruno.
Guys were very
awesome.
bitter about having a relationship, having to do, tit for tat there or whatever.
Right.
Eric, where are you going to be with Brutus?
So once again, it's the Wrestling Universe, Flushing, Queens, New York, 3429 Francis Lewis Boulevard, and we'll be there from 1 to 3. And for everybody to stay abreast of everything ESS with all the different talents and stuff that's coming in, www.esspromotions.com. And just remember, business and success end in ESS.
And that being said, this has been... Oh,
BrutusBeefcake.com, baby. Get the book.
that's right.
We almost
Get the
forgot.
book
Holy
on
cow.
Get the book.
Brutus
Buy the
Beefcake.
book. Cutting and strutting. It's great. Great stories in there.
MontyandthePharaoh.com. Oops, sorry.
And with that being said, this has been a special edition. I want to thank Brutus the Barber Beefcake, Hall of Famer, icon. We're going to see him next as a Hall of Famer with the Dream Team.
Yeah.
Catch us every Thursday from 8:05 to 9 p.m. here only on Village Connection Radio. And catch us on television every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9 p.m. So if you don't have enough of that, and Brutus will be a star on that show too.
That's
so
right.
once again, I want to thank you everybody for joining. This is Mike Monty.
This is the Pharaoh.
Have a great day.
Later.